And now we come to the last presentation for today from speakers. Jessica Graefenstein, it's not so easy to see it to say it in English. Jessica is a sustainability consultant. She supports organizations in integrating sustainability into strategy and operations with experience in veterinary and scientific event management through the German Veterinary Medical Society. And I've met her 3, 4 years ago when we had a congress in Berlin, and she asked me if she can help to make congresses a little bit more sustainable. And then I said her that we start a group in the FICAVA with sustainability. And now she's here and give us some ideas about sustainability outside of the box from pure veterinary medicine and laboratory work. So Jessica, could you share your screen?
That would work, I hope.
Yeah, we will see. Yeah, that's fine. Perfect.
Thank you. So
Thank
thank
you
you
for
so much
coming.
for the introduction. That's very kind. And I'd like to thank the Picala actually for giving me a spot in this great program, even though I have no medical degree whatsoever, and therefore this gives me the opportunity to put a little light on the other side of the topic. And also of course, thanks to everybody who's sticking around at that time of the day. And yeah, today I'd like to take the minute to talk about care beyond the clinic. So sustainability as a core value in management, actually. So since most of you don't know me, I thought I'd give it a second. So like Stefan said, I'm the Sustainability and Process Manager at the German Veterinary Medical Society, the DVG, and I'm also a freelancer in sustainability consulting for SMEs, so small and medium enterprises, currently working on my master's. And my background is actually based in event management, and I became a representative of sustainability or sustainable event management for the DIN ISO 20121, which is specifically for that. Yeah, and then I got more and more into that topic. So today, before we start, I'd like to add that this lecture we're talking about veterinary medicine more as a business, as an organization, as part of economy and society. So yeah, please keep that in mind. And at first, I'd like to take a second to just again talk about why this matters and why it matters now. And then we capture really quickly what's in care beyond the clinic and what sustainability means as a core value in management and key areas for that. So yeah, let's hop right in. So you all heard loads of reasons today why sustainability in this field matters, and I'd like to add a few of my thoughts. So at first and foremost, there's the growing relevance of the topic itself, even in the industry. So I got a few examples here. First of all, we talk about the emerging global trends. So they're becoming more obvious and more broad, of course. And for example, we're talking about the global impact on animal health. We talk about resource scarcity. We talk about zoonosis. We talk about the overall One Health approach. Then we also have the increasing external pressure, like regulatory requirements, sustainability reports. We have sensitivity and reputation from customers and colleagues. And also we have changes in supply chains and also in the pharmaceutical industry. Then there's, of course, the sector's responsibility. So veterinary medicine is part of the health system, and there are big environmental impact of practices and clinics that can't be overlooked, like we heard multiple today. And you also have this role model situation and consulting positions for animal owners, for other stakeholders of the industry. And last but not least, we should all look at this more as an opportunity above obligation. So this means the increase in efficiency, in cost savings, enhanced reputations, and of course, competitive advantages. And of course, we want to ensure the future viability of practices and clinics. Then as a second point, I've got that doing nothing costs more than taking action. So here are a few numbers for you. Looking at those numbers, the scenario becomes very obvious. So we're now approximately 32 trillion US dollars are necessary to cover the annual economic cost to 2050 of the results of climate change. On the other hand, we have 6 trillion US dollars to limit those global warming below 2 degrees Celsius in line with the Paris Agreement. So that's a big difference. And talking about numbers, the global economic output could decline by 17% by 2050. Additionally, there's a highly uneven distribution of damages and costs globally and in different social classes. And looking at the numbers before, the annual global climate-related damages are expected 5 times higher than the costs of mitigating needed to limit those warming. So to keep that in mind, like there's the necessity to act now rather than act tomorrow, and all of us are part of that. And as a last point, I just want to make that we all are part of the problem. Like, first and foremost, there's the impact of the healthcare sector altogether. So this sector alone accounts for about 5% of global emissions, which is more than all commercial air travel combined. And for example, we have 414 different pharmaceutical residues that have been detected in the environment in Germany to date, which in turn leads to other negative environmental consequences, as we heard today, actually. And then I put in this graph here. It's from the Hartman Science Center, and I really like it because it puts it very clearly. And I know it's a human clinic, but you can also apply it to the veterinary clinics to some degree, of course. So here, for example, we have the point that it becomes obvious that there are high resource consumptions. For example, we have here 7,000 liters just for flushing the water pipes each week. And then, of course, we have all the food and the energy for patients, the staff, running the place. And on the other side, we have the emissions as an output. So up to 1/3 of total hospital emissions are climate damaging aesthetic gases. And imaging just in German hospitals, like on its own, is approximately 13 million kilograms of carbon dioxide. And catering also makes up about 18% of hospital emissions. So they're big numbers that we talk about here. So there's also, on the other hand, big potential for change, actually. And also next to that, there's, of course, our personal impact, like the impact that we make with our life choices and how we choose to operate each day. So looking at that, on the other hand, I'd like to take a second to explain what care beyond the clinic in this matter means. So usually when we talk about care in this field, it's about animal health, welfare, diagnosis and treatment, immediate clinical outcomes, short-term cost management, as well as practice centers activities. In this lecture, I'd also put a focus on an extended approach that includes sustainability. So it's healthier. Of course, it's healthier animals, communities, and ecosystems. It's about prevention and long-term resilience. It's also about collective impact across the value chain, which I come back later to. It's a future-proof veterinary services. It's also long-term cost reduction and resource efficiency. And of course, it's local partnerships and community engagement. So why exactly does this matter? Well, taking in the responsibility, the output can be better animal welfare outcomes, stronger collaborations with farmers, pet owners, suppliers, communities, etc., a reduced environmental footprint, more resilient veterinary practices, and also, very important, sustainable value creation for future generations. And that's the key point we talk about in sustainability, to meet our needs without reducing the possibility for future generations to meet their needs. So also, as you heard before today, I'd like a second to look at the One Health chapter. So we talk about this as a big picture. So it's about integrated management of health risks. It's about a holistic approach of humans, animals, and the environment. So we talk about a shared responsibility for reducing the spread and emerging of antibiotic resistance, etc. And as you can see in the graph, and as you saw before today, there are loads of different approaches for One Health that have to be looked at together as one. You cannot just leave one part out of it. So therefore, we also look at all our stakeholders and also the opportunity that they bring us. So when we talk about collaboration, we take a look at the possibility of a collective impact. So the veterinary practice has many direct and indirect stakeholders, and therefore there are big opportunities in working together. So first, you can amplify the impact through collaborations. Veterinary practice, suppliers, farmers, pet owners, industry partners can achieve a greater sustainability outcome together than any organization could alone. It's also about driving a system-wide change. So by sharing knowledge, data, best practices, veterinary organizations contribute to healthier animals, but also more sustainable supply chains and reduce environmental impacts across the sector, not just each on their own. And it's about building resilient local networks. So stronger partnerships within communities support resource efficiency and innovation and long-term resilience and creating benefits for both animal health and sustainable business performance. So in addition, there is responsibility for organizations. Organizations can shape behavior through their identity and culture. So by aligning employees and stakeholders around shared sustainability goals, you all move in the same direction. Businesses, and at the end of the day, all of us are in businesses, have the ability to accelerate sustainability transitions by proactively designing and implementing their own pathways to change. And through their broad influence of employees, customers, suppliers, communities, organizations carry a unique responsibility to drive sustainable practices beyond their direct operations. For example, employees or pet owners take this information they get and the input in their daily life, in their family life. That's how community works. So that's also part of the responsibility. All of us, I'm sure most of you have heard of this, all of us have these corporate social responsibilities. By the European Commission, CSR actually means the responsibility of enterprises for the impact on society, and therefore it should be company-led. Companies can become social responsible by integrating social, environmental, ethical, consumer, and human rights concept into their business strategy and operations and following the law. So that's the basic on how to move forward in a more sustainable way, which actually leads us to the point sustainability as a core management value. And therefore, we are looking at the question how sustainability can become the core value of the organization and how and have a lasting impact. Because sustainability, of course, isn't just about creating something, it's about creating it on long term and not spending resources just shortly, but think about it in a full circle way. So to scratch that topic, I'd like to take a look at 3 levels of management in an organization. So first and foremost, first level, we have the normative. So we are talking about the level of identity forming orientation, of defining purpose, of self-concept, of your vision and the values that actually guide our actions. So that's usually the leaders in the company or the management level. the people that set the rules. Then on the second level, we have the strategic level. So it's about developing existing opportunities for success and creating new ones. So, but all of this happens according to the normative foundation. And on the third level, there's the operation. So it's about implementing the strategy we made before by directing activities and stakeholders and other resources. So to understand these more, I've got a few questions here. So that's what we ask ourselves. We ask ourselves, what guides us? Then we ask, are we doing the right thing actually? Are we doing this because that's what we want to do? That's where we want to go. And also, are we doing the right thing right? So sustainability has to be implemented in all levels, but to be, for example, be seen in operational actions, it has to be looked at in the normative and strategic level. You cannot just skip it. You cannot just act and think about the why, like afterwards. That's greenwashing. That's what we heard before. Like that's what we don't want. So we have to go step by step and actually think this through, because sometimes we set ourselves goals and don't follow it through because later on we see it's not necessary, it's not helpful, it's not really where we want to go. So here are some steps to implement sustainability actually as a core value in your organization. So first and foremost, you should align it with your purpose, your vision, and your mission, or like you should put some up actually. Like ask yourself questions like, why does your business exist? What are your goals and aspirations? Also, like, how do you create value for your customers, employees, partners, and society? And maybe try to take a look above the obvious, above the health animals, and then you find maybe more reason to act more sustainable than you already do. So it's a purpose-driven sustainability strategy and grounded in an organization's values and beliefs, and it creates a clear narrative that integrates sustainability into the core business and inspires stakeholders' engagement. And that's actually the next step. It's about engaging your stakeholders in the process. It's about understanding your stakeholders' expectations and actively communicating your vision while inviting them to give feedback and collaboration that builds trust, loyalty, and support for your sustainable agenda itself. So, and therefore, the third step would be the integration into your operations and decision making. So it's about embedding sustainability into policies, into processes, like rethinking them, for example, in systems and culture, supported by clear goals, accountability, measurement, and integration into innovation, risk, and stakeholder engagement. This drives continuous improvement, efficiency, and also organizational resilience, actually. Then, after that, you should look internal again. You should train and empower your employees. This is about equipping your employees with the knowledge, the skills, and the support to act more sustainable. Just telling them to do it won't fix it. They also have to have a reason. And it's about fostering personal responsibility and commitment. Then we talked about engaging stakeholders before. Now it's about collaboration. It's about collaborate and co-create. So you got the input, and now it's about collaboration with stakeholders to develop joint solutions. So you can use collective expertise, innovative strength, and the influence to achieve sustainability outcomes more quickly compared to if everybody does it on their own. And last but not least, it's about learning, adapting, and evolving. So monitoring the changing conditions and constantly refining sustainability goals and measures is essential to strengthening the relevance, the resilience, and the long-term success. And that's what we want, like, at the end. So now we talked about how to get there, and now I want to show you guys a few, well, parts or a few places you can start, perhaps. So here are a few key areas for sustainable management. So first we have leadership, which is about people and culture. So it's especially about internal transformation. It's about training new people. It's about commitment. It's about role modeling. It's about empowering and corporate culture. We all are part of some business in one form or another, or we are ourselves are the business. We are the corporation. And we have a picture to hold up and we have a picture to be part of. So, because as we said before, it can translate to the outside of the organization if the inside is strong and committed. Then we have the environmental responsibility that includes reducing negative ecological impact. It's about carbon, it's about resources, it's about waste management, it's about keeping up biodiversity. So we have heard many opportunities today how to reduce the waste, how to recycle, how to reuse instead of use it once only, or like use items once. So it's very specific, and of course, the sector isn't really the top player in possibilities of reusing and life cycle, but there are many ways nowadays, as we heard today, that we can start and we can make a move, and we should look at all of the possibilities out there. Then we have the social responsibility, meaning the people and the societal well-being. So it's about employee health, it's about safety, it's diversity, it's animal welfare, it's also community engagement. So you have to set certain goals to reach higher than the legal necessities. Then we have sustainable operations and the value chain. So this part is that, like, all of the decisions we make, it's day-to-day business. So supply management, logistics, innovation, and lifestyle thinking. It's a very strategic point since we have to think long-term. So go through all of the processes. Who's the player? Who's part of this? Is there a way to optimize it? And last, governance and ethics. It's about responsible decision making and accountability. So transparency, compliance, risk management, going into a dialogue rather than just giving out facts. So we try to be collaborative and form alliances. And also, of course, like being clear about what we are doing, why we're doing it. So if I'd like to take a few takeaways, those probably would be them. So veterinary organizations can extend the impact beyond clinical care by embedding sustainability into management, culture, and everyday decision making. So through collective actions, as we heard, with employees, clients, suppliers, communities, like-minded people like today, veterinary practices can become powerful drivers of positive and lasting change. Sustainability is also not an additional task, it's a strategic approach of creating long-term value for animals, people, organizations, and the environment. And management itself has the responsibility for making sustainable decisions and embedding it into everyday decision making itself as a business and as business decisions. And in the focus, there would be the fact of care beyond the clinic means recognizing that every decision shapes not only animal health, but also the resilience of our communities and the sustainability of our future. So therefore, thank you all for listening, actually, at this late hour, and feel free to get in touch. And also, if you're interested in more like management topics, we actually offer a workshop series, an online format, if you're speaking German, and it starts probably in late summer, and it's in cooperation with the BVVD, and there we touch on management-related sustainability topics that also cross over in veterinary practices. So, yeah, thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Jessica. I think it was very interesting to see different perspectives for the topic of sustainability. And I think it was good to have you here in this Congress, because we are a little bit in our bubble as veterinarians, and I think the same is true for humans. And so it's good to look a little bit sometimes, have an outlook to things around us and not only in the bubble. Okay, thank you again.